All right, welcome to the Unblock Yourself podcast. This is our podcast where we have conversations either together or with people who are chasing their dreams, making positive change in the world, and living an intentional and unblocked life.
If you're just tuning in, we are kicking off our second season of the podcast with a book series. We're walking through the books that shaped us in 2025 and drawing out the ideas that have been helpful in the work that we're doing.
We've already done two.
We've done two.
We did The Obstacle is the Way and The Third Door.
Yes.
And today we have a third book.
Yeah.
3 of 5.
Yeah, the first two that we did circled on a couple of themes. This is going somewhere different. We're going to a different place.
Different direction.
We're doing a book called Strong Ground by
The one and only
Brené Brown.
Brené Brown.
Brené Brown with an accent aigu over her E,
Yeah.
although she's from Texas.
I have to learn how to do that on the keyboard.
Yeah, it's actually so true. Every time I've taken notes on books that she's written, you got to do that. And actually, total sidebar, but if you create a tag with an accented E, it won't find it if you try to use a regular E. So
Interesting. Really?
no. Yeah, it's just a quick
Good to
note.
know.
Not smart enough.
Nice. All right.
Anyways, Strong Ground
Strong Ground.
is her latest book. This was a book that came out in 2025. So it came out last year, actually late last year, but still was pretty impactful in terms of some of our thinking for the year that we just had. And it's just in the context of all the work that she's done. I know that, let's be honest, we've had this conversation before. I read Strong Ground. I don't think you did.
Not fully.
Yeah. Okay.
Not fully.
That's,
I think I got to about chapter 5 or so. I loved it. I loved the start of it. And then, I just didn't actually, by the time, I was hoping to have completed it by the time we recorded this podcast. But yet again, I did not. I hope that some people listening to this appreciate me.
They do. I think they did. Well,
but Greg did, and not no surprise there. So Greg is going to teach everybody a bit about this book and give some of the highlights. And I got some questions for you about the book.
Yeah.
So
I think it's going to be great. So Brené Brown is, let's just set some context on who she is.
Who is she?
In case people don't know. She is a research professor of social work. So she is U.S. based. She teaches at University of Houston. She's written a whole bunch of books in what's called the Dare to Lead series. So she's got Dare to Lead as a book that I think you read that one.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dare to Lead is another book. It is a great book. Just at the front of these, there's a list out everything that she's done before. She's got a podcast. She consults and works with some of the biggest organizations in the world. She's got a TED Talk that went viral that really put her on the world stage. It's basically, I want to be Brené Brown when I grow up.
She is so badass.
Yeah,
she's so badass.
And so we've even got, this is kind of a cool, interesting fact. If you've listened to our podcast since the beginning, you would know that one of our first guests, Natalie Demond, is quoted in her book, Dare to Lead, and actually had a chance to meet and work with Brené.
Yeah, she's a certified Dare to Lead facilitator, which isn't an option anymore. I was like, oh, maybe that's something I'm going to do. It's not something that's offered anymore. So Natalie was part of that, quoted in the book, and I just think that's so cool. Natalie's a celebrity to me because of that.
Totally. And if you haven't checked out that episode, it is a great one. Natalie's amazing. We love what she does, and she continues to support the work that we do. So we appreciate that. So that's a little bit about Brené. Let's talk about the book now.
Let's talk about the book.
Get a little bit of an overview. So in Brené's work, and we're going to talk about the things as we do that I liked and didn't like in a minute. So I'll avoid any of that, and I'll just give some context. So this is the part you would have read. So at the start of the book, she tells a story of being really into pickleball and injuring herself. So she suffers this injury on the pickleball court, and she starts seeing a physical therapist. And where this whole idea of Strong Ground comes from is she gets this diagnosis that if you want to keep playing at a high level, we got to rework your entire physicality. She prides herself on being physical, active, and all these things, but he just tears her apart basically, and says, "You got hurt because you're overcompensating. You don't have a strong core."
Strong core. That's right. Yes.
And
she's like, I want to be. She didn't want to be in assisted living. Her goal was to be like the person that was the longest on her maternal side, I guess, to not be in assisted living. Is that right?
Yeah, you're killing it. Yeah, both her mom and her grandmother had just battles with dementia, so that's close to home for her. Yeah. Brené, when you listen to this, we know that you're going to appreciate us telling a bit of that story for you. We hear you on that and definitely empathize on that. That'd be super, super challenging. But anyway, she goes on to say, we can't build any sort of progress on a dysfunctional system. Mm-hmm. And that's really what the whole book centers around, that idea or that metaphor of building on dysfunction.
Meaning like don't make small changes or tweaks to things if the core is broken.
This is just it. So we're living in a world right now where things are getting faster and we can say more chaotic, crazier. Mm-hmm. And so there's this desire to move and change things. And the reality is, if you don't address the systemic problem or the systems, it actually isn't going to fix the problem. We're just going to build more dysfunction on top of a foundation of dysfunction. And so systematic change is about whole system change, not just about trying to modify one little thing or tweak one little thing.
And I know it was like a personal story, but does she talk about it in terms of corporate? Like, is it more from like a leadership corporate perspective, or is it, could you apply it to like your own life or your family life?
Oh, we're going to get into concepts.
That. Oh, okay. I jumped ahead as I do.
But it's okay. We'll because I think I came at the book from the perspective of leadership and corporate and thinking about some of the work that we're doing with some of our clients now, and how could we apply and how could we do that. But I think that the applications are deeply personal as well. It's good. Couple of things though is shifting from heroics of individuals to systems, getting more thoughtful about how to be systematic in your approach. Mm-hmm. And then a real theme in the book is about how we are just, as human beings, wired for connection, and human connection truly is a driver for so much change in our lives. There's a quote on page 19, and this kind of gets at, I think, the essence of what the book is about. So page 19 of the book, which I've got right here, I'm watching as that scramble leads down the dangerous path of attempting to build new capabilities on top of old dysfunction rather than assessing and developing core stability and functional strength first. Skipping ahead a little bit, core stability and functional strength in the context of an organization means investing in people, because people and our connection to each other are the strong ground.
Nice.
So it's this idea of people and connection. So that's why it's definitely organizational, but it gets personal as it goes along. So I would say, as we get into it, for anyone listening to this and thinking, oh, maybe I'll pick up the book and read it as a result of this, or maybe I'll go, hey, now I can just act like I read the book because I listened to this great podcast. Yeah. The audience for this, organizations, leaders, for sure. So if you're leading a team, can help you. If you're an entrepreneur or aspiring to be and thinking about how you might lead and grow something or make a change happen, helpful for you. But definitely from a community perspective and even from a family perspective, it applies there too, because leadership just extends to every part of your life. That's the book. And that's what the book's about, broadly speaking.
Yeah, I'm thinking a bit about, and I don't know if you have an answer to this, but that's making me think of, like, once let's say there's a business that's been running for, 20 plus years or whatever, like, how do you go back and fix the core? Like, I feel like that'd be a hard thing to do. Do you know what I mean? To identify, like, well, I guess in this context, she's talking about the people.
Yeah.
Like focusing in on the people, but I don't know. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going with that, but it seems like that could be a big undertaking to be like, okay, even the case of her, like, pickleball and her back injury, she's like, oh man, I have to go back and do all of
rebuild,
this, like rebuild, but first had to identify like where that was coming from. So I see that, I guess, a bit more complicated in a corporate context. I don't know if you are picking up what I'm putting down.
I think so. Well, I think we talked about this a little bit too, with this idea of the obstacle is the way. When should you just stop?
Right.
If something's just not working. I think what she really leans into through that lens is not, hey, what if you have a really bad product and your product's super dysfunctional? This isn't let's break down your product design. And it's not about that for sure. I think it's much more, you got chaos happening around you. How do you make meaningful progress on something? And the way you're going to make meaningful progress is organizing people and getting people sort of mobilized and motivated to solve. So it's definitely more on the people aspect of fixing the problems, for sure.
Okay, cool.
I think that's interesting, though. I want to, because we're actually going to come back to that in one of the examples.
Okay.
One of my, you guessed it, 3 things.
3 things.
That I take away from the book.
Great.
Okay, can I hit on what I liked?
Yeah, what did you like?
Here's what I liked, Whitney. I liked the fact that this book is literally like greatest hits. It takes, I've read a few of her books, not all of them, and it is, she references her other work a lot, and so it brings it all together. It feels like a culmination.
Okay.
So if you want to read Brené Brown's stuff, you want to get to know what she's all about, I think you could read this one and get a really good sense of everything. Atlas of the Heart, Dare to Lead. It's all kind of present in this book. She also brings so many great ideas from other big thinkers.
I noticed that. There was like Abby Wambach, Adam Grant, Daniel Pink. There's like a ton of people referenced in it, and lots of their ideas. There's different chapters, different people. So that was cool.
I love that. I mean, so much of this kind of work that she's doing, it's not to sound critical of the research and all the work. It's not novel and it's not unique. It's human. So it's just part of how we work. And so bringing other people's ideas just makes it stronger. It just helps to reinforce and highlight other people's work. I think it's awesome.
Nice.
So I love that.
I like that.
If I could talk about things I didn't love.
Yeah. And before you do, I know just from knowing you that you don't love Brené Brown.
Right.
You haven't always loved her work. And I think there's like a specific word she uses. It's called rumble.
Rumble.
She says the word rumble a lot. And I think that's always rubbed you the wrong way.
I have no idea why, but it elicits such a strong negative reaction.
When you wanted to cover this book, I was actually surprised. I'm like, okay, Brené Brown. So tell me about that.
Rumble. So, okay. Well, this is a thing that, what I liked is that this idea of rumble and the way she uses that language is so present in especially Dare to Lead, her other really notable work, or one of her other notable works. And I just couldn't. It was like grinding me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is, but the term she uses it to describe, hey, Whitney, we need to have a hard conversation right now. You and I need to really work something out. And she proposes that I would say to you, Whitney, if we were having like a tough day, like, Whitney, we need to rumble right now. We need to rumble.
Okay.
And like, really? Like, if I said that to you, I think you would just walk away in disgust. You'd be like, okay,
maybe.
Let's rumble.
Yeah, rumble. Okay.
Like, it feels a little bit it's like childish.
A wrestling
or is it sexual?
Like the Royal Rumble?
Is it like, what is it like?
It's Brené Brown. It's not sexual.
Well, I can test that, and I have a sense. Anyway, I have no basis for that. But I have a sense that she's a passionate woman. You tell us, Brené, when you listen to this. But anyway, so that does show up a bit in the book. So you're right. That was the thing that I didn't love, is when we start touching on like the rumbles we gotta have. It just grinds me. I don't know why.
Like it. Okay. Okay.
And maybe Natalie
that
can
would
help
come
us
up.
do that. Yeah, that's one. The other thing. So this is actually surprising to me. I had a really hard time taking 3 lessons away from this book. And the reason
there were too many.
There's so many.
Okay.
And so that's actually, it's a critique that I would have is we're going to talk about one chapter of this book that's 100 pages long. And that one chapter could be its own book. So it's to her credit that she got so much in here. But I think if anyone does pick this up and read it, they're going to be like, holy crap. Like, it's
robust.
There's not one framework. Okay, good framework. Let's build it. It is, hey, here's a framework for this. There's a framework for that. There's a framework for that. There's a lot in here.
See, it's funny. That's a negative for you, because I would think some people might think that's great. This is my book. This is my one book. It has all the things I need.
It does. But I think that the lens I was looking at it through, there's no simple answers in here. Literally. I think this is probably some of her intention of putting it together. I think you and I will like work through this book for years, just because there's great stuff. But my critique is it's almost too much. It's like, oh my gosh. So that's a critique. Anyway, it's almost too good, for God's sakes. There you go. Those are my 3. Those really are the things I like, things I didn't like. Okay, Whitney, as we do, can we talk about the key ideas?
Yes. 3.
3 key ideas.
Yes, of course.
And then after, dear listener, you listen to this, you can say, oh, I think I've got the key ideas from Strong Ground. I'm good. Or you can run out and buy a copy of the book, which we would encourage you to do.
Yep.
Key idea number 1. Get ready for it. Discipline and accountability.
I love that word around here.
Oh,
accountability.
We do. They're not sexy, but it's where it all starts. Discipline and accountability. So,
personal discipline.
Personal discipline.
Okay. Get shit done.
We're going to get to that. Okay. So I mentioned we're starting here. So chapter 15 of the book is the longest chapter of any book I've ever read.
Wow.
So it's like over 100 pages, and it's dense. There's just lots in there. So this is the one that could probably be the whole, its own book altogether. But she goes back to that story of pickleball, and she identifies this term, grounded confidence. We'll come back to that in a little bit, but grounded confidence.
Okay.
And so the idea is that grounded confidence is critical to success as a leader. And this chapter breaks down what are the different parts of what grounded confidence are. What are the different parts of grounded confidence? So she just breaks it down, and in tying back to that pickleball analogy or metaphor, she kind of has these 5 component parts. There's a page in the book, I think it's 264, where she actually has this fully broken down, like it actually lays out every single piece or component of what grounded confidence is. So it's in there, yeah. So it's our core, our strength, our awareness, our thinking, and our communication. Okay. I'm just going to cherry pick the 2. So out of that, the second part, our strength, there's a bunch of them there, but cherry picking discipline and accountability. Because if we try to go through all of them, again, too much.
Too long.
Just too much. It's a lot. So discipline in here, she had this definition for discipline that I thought was amazing and perfect. And so I wanted to highlight it because I think it's just important. It's gold. Okay. So for anybody listening to this, here's sort of a way to think about discipline. She talks about it and she apparently recites this to herself. A disciplined person can do anything, dare to do what you don't want to do to get what you do want. So a disciplined person can do anything, dare to do what you don't want to get what you do want.
I think you said it different both times.
Did I? That's a fail. I'm not going to say it a third time. The point being that discipline is really all about doing things you don't want to do necessarily in order to get something you do want. So that's, it's the stuff that happens behind the scenes.
That hits.
The things that you do not to show it off, but the things you do just either because you want to for some reason, or you just feel like it's the thing to do. It's the extra 5-minute jog before practice starts, or I remember hearing that. I think it was in a Gatorade commercial. It's like, be the player who does that extra 5-minute sprint before practice starts, or whatever. And I think discipline, and when you frame it in that way, it's doing the things you don't want to do in order to get what you do want. It just hits, I think, so critically at everything that we think about, and everything we talk about is, I just want to be intentional about what I want to do. Okay, cool. How willing are you to do what you don't want to do in order to get what you do?
What you actually want. Yeah.
And so I think that that's key. Another part of this too is I do think that discipline is, it feels like things you don't want to do, but I don't think it's necessarily always things you don't want to do. I think it's just doing the work, whatever that work might be, to get something you want.
I think it's like stuff gets in the way, like Netflix and scrolling, and it's not that you don't want the thing, it's just there's competing priorities and distractions and other stuff going on, right?
Totally. I think it's easy to get caught up in that, and so yes, I think making space for that, and then it ties to the other piece, which is accountability isn't buried in there, and we love accountability.
Yes,
we love accountability.
Love it.
Yeah.
A lot more.
So it ties. She's got a whole chapter in the book later on. Chapter 17 is all about accountability. But again, the way she breaks this down, I think is gold. So she talks about accountability, and she's framing accountability through the lens of accountability to someone else. So I'm accountable to you as my wife. The way I behave, like how I show up and I'm honest with you, I take accountability when I'm wrong, builds trust. So she's talking about it interpersonally.
Okay.
But I think we think about accountability a lot as me, the individual. And I liked this parallel, if you can track with me here.
Okay.
If accountability builds trust, so by being accountable for what I do or don't do to you, you trust me. By being accountable to myself, so if I say I'm going to do something, I actually build trust with myself.
Yeah.
Which I think is huge. So
Yeah.
if you think about if there's a thing you want to do, if there's anything you want to do, you want to have this be this person that has grounded confidence. You need the discipline to do what you don't want to do. And then you need to trust yourself. I say I'm going to do something. Do I actually do that thing? And I think it's this nuance to what we do in our programming that I think hit for me.
Yeah.
Because I think people say, oh, I want to do this thing. And then they just don't do it.
I think it's hardest to stay accountable to yourself.
Exactly.
I think you're most likely to let yourself down before you let anyone else down. You know, it's like, I'm going to go for that run and that's for me.
That's for you for sure.
Right.
If you commit to somebody else, you will not. That is a huge you value for sure.
You mean me?
You, Whitney.
Oh.
That is
in general.
If you've made any sort of sock commitment, we'll be there in 5 minutes. If we're there in 6, it drives you crazy.
Oh, for sure. I can't handle that. It's like if I've said a thing, I need to do the thing. Like It's just, we're supposed to be there at 10:30. Like it bothers me a lot. But if it's me and there's no one else involved and I haven't said it and I'm just like said it to myself internally, I'm going to go for that run this morning. Like 50% chance I'm going to, you know, I'm like quick to let myself down or lose that accountability with myself. So I like that. I have to. Yeah.
And like, not to go deep, but I think you struggle to trust yourself in like this sort of weird way. I don't think it's not going all deep here necessarily, but looking at it, I think there's something there. And I think it's not just a you thing, Whitney. I think it's people in general.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to do something big and great and grand with my life. You need grounded confidence to do that. Discipline and accountability are just one of the many pieces of that.
Yeah.
I think those are central pieces.
Yeah. I mean, we both know I need therapy. This could help.
Yeah, that'll be.
We both know.
Episode.
We know.
No
secret there.
But
okay, cool. I was curious about how she talked about accountability, so that's helpful.
I think, and again, there's lots in that chapter. We just boiled 100 pages down into like 5 or 6 minutes, but I think those two things are key. So, grounded confidence essential, discipline and accountability key underpinnings for that.
Okay,
that's number 1. Takeaway.
That was 2 things, but okay.
Yeah, no,
I'll
2 and 1. It was 2
for 1.
Go. Key idea number 2, embracing paradox is really what leadership is all about. I love the word paradox because it sounds cool to say it. I don't know what it is. Brené Brown loves paradox.
Yeah, she talks about it all the time.
And so this is chapters 4 to 6 in the book kind of circle around this idea of paradox and what it's all about. This is definitely on the leadership side. So this is being a leader and how you lead. But again, back to where we started, this could be organizational. This could be you as an entrepreneur, solopreneur, just trying to drive something, or just within the context of family. I think about this just with the weekend I had being a coach of a house league hockey team. I think the leadership piece, whatever kind of a leader you might be, it is. So as I said at the start, one of the things I love about this book, Brené brings some awesome people into it. Jim Collins is one of my favorites. Yeah. He's a good to great guy.
I crush on him.
I do. He's so good. And he's got a new book coming out, which obviously didn't make it into this series because it isn't out yet. But I think that'll be on the 2026, 6 books for 2026 list.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll leave that for another day. But on page 47 of this book, she talks about Jim, who does a study. So in Good to Great, if you've not read that book, A, you should. But B, if you've not read it, then Good to Great essentially is an analysis that he did of companies that became great and compared them to companies that just stayed good. They were relevant, they were good, but never achieved true greatness. And one of the factors that showed up in his research was this idea of embracing the genius of the and denying the tyranny of the or. And so Brené brings that in. So it's again, embrace the genius of the and just forget about or deny the tyranny of the or. And this is the whole paradox thing. This is, we're going to pursue profit and purpose is sort of his idea, that these companies that became great we're able to say we're going to do this and this.
That, not, okay.
Instead of we're going to do profit first, and if we do some purpose, great. It's not an or thing. It was all about and.
Like two things can be true.
Two different things can be true.
Two different things, yeah.
And there's the Stockdale paradox is a whole section he goes deep on. We won't go deep into that. But the idea is, in this idea of paradox, again, she boils it down nicely, that it's not about being overly optimistic when it comes to paradox and just saying, oh yeah, I can do this and this and this and this. It's not about that. It's about saying, hey, this thing that I want to be true, I want to make that true. And this thing that I want to make true, I'm going to keep that true. But I'm going to recognize that there's some challenges. Like I'm going to be real and disciplined about what the obstacles are so that I can, in fact, make those things true. So it's not about blind optimism and I can do it all. It's about being real about how do I make it happen.
Okay.
And so a good leader is going to be somebody who embraces that as a paradox and a truth, which I think is so true. This then ties to, I think, something else that was getting at what you were asking about before, which Brené uses a quote a little bit later, that leadership is about plumbing and poetry. So again, a nice little paradox there.
Okay.
Because you can't think of anything further than
plumbing
than
and
poetry.
Yeah.
So the idea is that a good leadership, so a lot of leadership that exists today is either poetic and big and grand and inspiring, or it's really practical and tactical and functional. And she proposes that what the world needs is leadership that is both. And this idea that you have a leader who can be practical in the plumbing side. How are things going to work? And then poetic by inspiring the meaning behind it. And leadership is about both those things. So leadership in itself is a paradox, kind of meta. I think it's great. But the idea is it's poetry and plumbing.
Yeah,
which is great.
Interesting. And maybe hard to do or hard to find in somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think we're going to talk a bit
we are
more about that, but it's like, I think that's tough to do, to have those two. They feel like that could be like two different people. You know, you're either strategic or you're tactical. Like, I think I've always thought of it that way. The people that are really strategic struggle to be plumbers.
Yeah.
Right. And then people who are the plumbers, like are the tactical doers, maybe struggle to be more strategic. So I don't know. And for leadership, I get that you need both, but I think it's tough.
And I think that this is why I think leadership being about paradox to me was such a powerful thing, because I think it's a cop-out, if I'm honest. I worked with a lot of leaders. You've worked with a lot of leaders. And often it is one or the other.
Yeah.
And it's really disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not to toot my own horn here, but I think that that's where I think it put into context for me what I find so important about being a leader is it's my natural tendency to want to be called poetic, to be the one, to be inspiring and give meaning. That's my tendency.
Yeah.
But I've learned that you don't get a lot of credibility from that. I once had somebody come up to me and say, I think you're all sizzle and no steak.
Ooh, ouch.
I know, in front of a co-founder that we both worked with. And I was like, that is That's harsh. Mean. It was mean.
Did you cry?
It was mean. I did not cry. It was mean. But it stayed with me, obviously. And here we are talking about it like 10 years later. And I think that for whatever reason, I was always compelled to try to inspire, but be really practical. Mm-hmm. And so I challenged myself in that way. And I think great leaders who I've worked with do that. Yeah. It's both.
Yeah.
And so I think that in itself is a paradox. Leadership is a paradox.
Yeah.
Embrace it. Yeah. That is takeaway number 2.
Yeah.
Embrace the paradox.
Like a leader at home too, right? Or like you were saying on the rink, like sports teams or whatever type of leader you are. I think that's totally applicable.
I think it is. And so just on that example too, it happened. So we've had one of our kids had a hockey tournament this last weekend, and just as we're getting the team pumped up to go on the ice for the last game, one of the other coaches is just saying to everybody in the room that they're wondering, if we win, what happens? And if we lose, what happens? They're trying to play all these scenarios. And the coach in his talk just said, the coaches have the what's next figured out. All you need to go out is play, or all you need to do is go out and play. And so he was able to bring that inspiration and give the team the sense that the plumbing of what happens next we've got that. And the team trusted that. You can see that they're like, okay, let's just play. And then the coaches will figure it out. So I think that was just one of those many examples.
I feel like you guys won the championship.
And we won the championship.
I just need to brag for a minute. Greg was the head coach, and they lost all season. Basically all season. Huge underdog, and they came and won the championship final game. It was quite exciting. I will say.
I love how much it makes me very happy how much you
I just thought it was so great. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It was anyway. It was awesome. Okay. So embrace the power of the and. So on this paradox thing, it's embrace the power of the and recognize it's about plumbing and poetry. So
love it.
It's number 2.
Great.
Again, I just kind of squeezed 2 things in there, but
yes.
Here we go. And number 3, key takeaway number 3, the power of preparation. So if I'm honest, this was actually my favorite part. This is so good.
You excel at this, I will say,
in
life.
That's super nice.
You do.
This is turning out to be like my favorite.
You do. You're
episode.
Always prepared for whatever is happening. Like, it's bananas. I'm like, I don't even know when you did that. You're just always prepared.
I think it just comes from like the feeling of being unprepared and getting my ass kicked.
Yeah.
And learning that.
That's
and
good. That's a good lesson.
I will say that, yeah, I felt the pain of getting my ass desperately kicked. And so it burned me, stayed with me. It definitely is my favorite part. So, okay. This is chapter 14 of the book. So we've covered 15, 3 through 6, and now it's 14. So we're kind of bouncing around a little bit here. Okay. But in this chapter, she wanted to debunk the idea of executive presence as a term. So like, this person has great executive presence or whatever. That's literally something that I've heard recently and in a hiring process that I've been a part of is what is
that anyway?
What is that? Yeah. Well, it implies unintentionally, but it implies that they're like, they look a certain way, like usually male, usually that's white. Sort of a thing. Usually white, leans towards that, like
wearing a suit,
right? Wearing a suit, back, all these things, right? Yeah,
picture it.
It implies all these things that really aren't great. And so she wanted to go and debunk this idea of what is executive presence all about.
I love that.
And what she did is she actually created or saw a sweet parallel in leadership, great leadership, to a quarterback who is in the pocket in a football game, and she called it pocket presence. So that's the idea of when the ball gets snapped, it's the 2 to 3 seconds that the quarterback has before they're crushed by offensive linemen to move the ball into play. You just throw it down the field, hand it off.
Yep.
Pocket presence is seeing or sensing what's happening around you and making a decision with limited information. And there's something essential there about leadership that just translates from the field to life in general.
So it's not like the loud one. It's like a quieter position. Is that
quarterback? No, like because a quarterback is the leader on the field, right? But it's the idea of what happens in those 2 to 3 seconds is the ability. What makes a quarterback great versus being a okay or good quarterback is you literally cannot see what's down the field. You've called the play. You trust your player is going to be there, and with thousands of pounds of human coming at you, like literally wanting to crush you. You can stay calm, composed, and just put the ball where you have agreed it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then that play is either going to happen or it's not.
Cool. Okay.
And it's the presence to just stay calm and in that moment. So she interviews an offensive coach. I'm trying to find his name here. Coach Steve Sarkisian. So Coach Sark is his name.
Okay.
And he identifies what undermines any good quarterback is 2 things: fear, you play too small, or arrogance, which means you play too big and you make mistakes. Yeah. And what makes any quarterback great is the leadership that you have off the field. And that's what this Coach Sark said is he talked about the quarterback and what they do off the field matters as much as what's on.
For sure.
When they're on, because when they're, it creates almost this feeling of love and connection between the players that they'll do anything to protect the QB, and the QB would do anything to protect his players on the field. And so it's just a question of, is that connection there, that there's a trust that the player that they're trying to throw to is going to be where they agreed they're going to be. Are they going to make it? Or are they not going to make it?
Yeah, that's good.
A great quarterback can make all the great throws in the world, but are the players going to be where they agreed to be?
Right.
Or are they going to not listen? So that's what makes a quarterback great. So how this all connects, and why I think this is all great. Brené ties this idea of pocket presence back to the first idea we talked about. Pocket presence is grounded confidence. So this idea of grounded confidence and pocket presence are really the same thing. So if you're to think about trying to debunk executive presence, what she's trying to get at is grounded confidence. If you can pull all the pieces together of what grounded confidence are, again, that whole chapter in the book, discipline, accountability, and others. If you can pull those pieces together, that's what's going to make you great as a leader. But then she herself writes in the book, these are not leadership skills, these are just life skills. She's like, if I was to think of anything I wanted to teach my kids, she's like, I just want to teach them pocket presence.
Yeah.
Like grounded confidence. And if you think about executive presence, somebody who looks the part, shows the part, but put them on a field and say, okay, now go play. Like clearly it's just not going to work. Right. It's only through the preparation and all the things that give you that grounded confidence that'll make you truly great. And what I love about this and how this ties back to preparation is I think it's easy to think of whether it's executive presence, so to speak, or the success that you ascribe people to have as things you either have or you don't.
Right.
She breaks it down as these are all skills, learnable, teachable skills that you can develop. And I think it's through intentionally practicing them and developing that you can grow that skill set and become a person that has grounded confidence.
Sure. I love that.
Successful to anyone. Doesn't mean we can all be an NFL quarterback.
Well, I don't know about that.
Exactly. But it does mean we can all develop that idea of presence just by building the skills.
So good.
I think it's so good. That's it.
I need to ask, by the end of the book, was she playing pickleball again? Did it
that is a great question. I think she is back on the pickleball court, but here's the thing, actually. She talks about this a little bit. Brené, keep me honest here when you give us your feedback. That she actually... She will. She actually refers to the fact that because she is more in touch with the person that she is, she just used to want to win the pickleball game. Like, I'm scheduled to play, I'm going to go and play, I'm going to crush it. She's a very competitive individual. But she knows now that if she feels like she's not physically fit, she can feel if she's prepared, if she's got the right mindset, if her body's in the right condition to go and play. And if she's not, she just won't play. It's not worth it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
If I can say the last thing before we leave the executive presence thing, I think it's so deeply ironic that she used a football metaphor to explain away executive presence, a male-dominated concept through a male-dominated metaphor. I think it's a bit of genius, also a bit ironic. I think it's great.
Yeah, that crossed my mind.
Yeah.
She must be a football fan.
Yeah, she is a absolute football fan. Die hard. Born and raised in Texas.
Love that.
Okay, so to sum it up, this book, so Strong Ground, the core theme of it is this idea of grounded confidence. It's essential not just to lead, but to perform at the highest level in life. The three things, discipline and accountability, are central to grounded confidence. Being able to embrace paradox is central to being able to lead in every aspect of your life. And the work you do, quote unquote, off the field contributes directly to the outcomes you get, quote unquote, on the field. That's it.
So good. Who's this book for? You think, like, if you think of who should read this book and go deep into it, like, what do you think of? An entrepreneur? Do you think of like a leader in a company? I know we talked about how there's lots of different.
I know. I thought a lot about that.
Applications.
So I would actually propose that. I mean, this is it's a bad answer and a cop-out to say I think everyone should, but I think for that one piece of what like the definition of grounded confidence is, but I think there's a ton of applicability if you are an entrepreneur, if you're somebody who's starting a business or you're inspired to want to start a business. I think that going and getting the book would be useful, and just trying to read one of the three sections that we talked about today is going to be super useful to you. I think if you're a parent or you're a leader in your community in any way, chapter 15 on grounded confidence. It's like, go buy the book, just read the one part. Don't try to read the whole thing. There's too much.
Nice.
I think that would be my advice.
All right. Well, that's it.
That's it for today. The next one, we're going to keep the series going.
Yeah.
I'm loving this.
Yes, it's great. I know. I love it too. I'm not reading all the books, but I'm learning all about them.
Oh,
this is great.
So what
is the next book?
I'm so excited for the next one.
What is it?
So there are.
Can you share?
There's some good Gregs out there. I think I'm a decent Greg. I do a good job being a Greg. But Greg McKeown is another great Greg.
Yeah.
And so he is. He's an author who, you know, that I love. We love. We've read his stuff, and we're going to be talking about essentialism.
Ooh, yeah, that's a goodie.
The art of getting more done by doing less. I definitely butchered that subtitle. Sorry, Greg. We'll cover that next week.
I'll fix it up for next time.
We'll be back. And so
right.
if you enjoyed this episode, please let us know. We love creating them for you. And if you thought this was great, then go back and check out the last two. Again, we did The Third Door by Alex Benayan and The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday.
Thanks for listening.
See you soon.
That's it for today. If you like this episode, hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. And if you'd be willing to leave a rating or a review, we do read every single one. And it genuinely helps more people find the show and helps us keep doing what we're doing. And if you do like this episode and what we're talking about here, you'll probably love our 100% free bi-weekly newsletter. It's called the Vienna 5, and you can find the link to that in the show notes. Music for this podcast is by Moby, who we still think is very cool. We're glad you're here. Thanks so much for listening.